There's more money to be made in Africa. That is shocking that our graduates are jobless and unemployed, not because of lack of opportunities, but because of lack of job opportunities. But job opportunities are not the only way to make money. And with proper education, our graduates will be the most occupied and preoccupied with very mega money building opportunities if they can just clear the scales off their eyes and see the opportunities that are staring them in the face all around. This video is about breaking those scales off your eyes. If you love the scales on your eyes, skip right through this video. But if you want the scales to fall off and see the money and why graduates should do the most menial jobs, then let's get right into it.
My is China. I'm an expert global business solutions expert and your real estate success strategist known as the mayor of House. The business channel where I discuss only business and you can do business directly with me called My Ace TV, and you can check it out right here. This channel is my personal contribution channel where I'll be giving you exceptional values on business, personal finance, personal development, and life success. And I'll be doing that with a lot of fun because my one word is fun. And I always seek this, inspire, create, collaborate. You can just call me the contributor. Join the exceptional 5% that will watch this video to the end because you're very special people and you're rare. Welcome on board. Let's learn together.
Welcome to the recap of our Sunday live stream, because every Sunday by 6 p.m. GMT +1, we do a live stream on this channel, My Ace China, where you get to choose any topic in the world and I'll treat the topic and you get to ask me any questions in the world, and 10 of you will be chosen to ask such questions. And after that, I can ask you questions where you not only learn, but you earn, because 10 people usually walks away with 30,000 naira because we are 30,000 subscribers on this channel. When we get to 40,000, we'll be giving 40,000 to 10 people every week. But because of how rowdy the live session is, every live we take away all the distraction and recap the live topic for those that want to delve deeper into the topic. So if you want to delve deeper into why every graduate should do menial job, you're welcome on board. The first thing you need to understand is the quote that led to today's topic. He said, with proper education, graduates will do more menial works than illiterates. The bane of our educational system is there is no longer proper education. There is just schooling. And the schooling systems makes people so blind that all they see is the prism of a job. But our topic says menial works, not job. So if you go to Google and Google the difference between work and job, you see that work refers to any activity, either physical or mental, done to achieve a purpose. That word purpose is very important, or result. While a job is a specified paid position of regular employment. We're not talking about a job, we're talking about menial works. And when I say menial, I really mean menial, because if you check the dictionary menial or the Google meaning of menial, it has to do with work not requiring much skill and lacking in prestige. And I'm more concerned about the lacking in prestige. So what keeps most graduates poor is prestige of being a graduate. So with this video, I'm gonna break all your prestige and build more of your prestige, because you will see it's more prestigious to break down and start below your level and rise above the level of other graduates. And when I say education, I mean proper education. And if you go to Google, you'll see that proper education goes beyond schooling, and it has to do with lifelong process, broad scope, focus on personal development. As a matter of fact, another name for proper education is personal development. So it's not academics I'm talking about, but personal development. So with that, let's get right into why graduates should do more menial works joyfully and diligently more than illiterates. And let's get some key concepts behind this. Number one is that the core-stimulating driver of action and creation is reason. With enough reason, you can do and create anything. I think graduates have more reason to succeed, more reason to show value, more reason to be productive, more reason to prove productivity than illiterate. More reason to start today rather than next week than illiterate. More reasons to show what they can endure than illiterates. More reason to prove character and diligence than illiterate. And because these menial jobs are lacking in prestige, and these graduates have enough prestige but not premium prestige, for them to get to the premium, you have to get to the non-premium. And it's more like this my meme of the year, where everybody is starting a race, but graduates have to take a cut on the race by going back because they are supercharging and boosting their catapult that will boost them ahead of others. So if you see this meme above, you see that the guy going backward might appear to be going backward, might appear to be doing a menial job that is below him, but he's just loading his catapult to get ahead. So graduates should load their catapults to get ahead of others by taking jobs below themselves, and they have more reasons to do that. The next question is why? Why should a graduate do menial works? And Frederick Nietzsche said, with a strong enough why, you can bear anyhow. So the most powerful thing in all of today's exposition and lecture is why. If your why is not strong enough, then you will not be able to bear the lack of prestige of the menial jobs. And all I want to give you 7 whys that will supercharge you to do not just menial jobs, but jobs other people have not even thought about or imagined. You even have a way of innovating the menial jobs to be more innovative. But before we get into that, your strong why means the higher your why, the lower and more menial the anyhow or the job or the work you can do. So let's give you 7 whys. But before we give you those 7 whys, what are the 2 things that can block these 7 whys from ever working? The 2 blockers of greatest blockers of you ever having this 7 why and ever doing menial jobs so that you can go backward to accelerate forward above every other person is number 1, ego. Number 2, comfort zone. And my best definition of ego is the phrase, a whole me, a whole graduate washing cars, a whole graduate gardening, a whole graduate cleaning houses. A whole graduate has kept a lot of graduates broke, poor, unemployed, and miserable. The second thing is comfort zone. Because most people don't realize that their comfort zone is where all your dreams die. Most graduates kill their dreams and potential after all the years in school and all the money spent in school by settling into their comfort zone. And the most comfortable comfort zone that's killed more dreams than any other thing in the world is supposed to. Graduates tell you this government is supposed to give them a job. Companies are supposed to employ them. They are supposed to get a job after employment. They are supposed to be retained after NYC. Supposed to has never helped anybody until you break out of that supposed to and supercharge your why with these 7 reasons. You remain both in your ego of prestige without having money and being broke. And I have a quote that says that being broke removes the E from being cute. So when you're broke, you are not cute. You are cut off from the value circle and from being valuable. So value does not depend on being a graduate. Value depends on productivity, and anything that will stop your productivity is not helping you to be cute or adding value to you. And one of the most important factor of productivity is starting. Many of us want to start being productive at the prestigious or elite level and waste so much time at this level doing nothing. But when you start productivity at the least level, it compounds and prepares you for greater levels of productivity. And you can only do that stepping back, as you can see in the meme, where you go back and prepare to take off and overtake those that have taken off before you when you have a strong enough why. And that's why these 7 reasons will supercharge your why graduates should do more menial works joyfully and diligently than illiterates. And the first one is a more compelling future. When we were in school, we had people that we called NFAs. NFA means no future ambition. Those were the people that don't attend lectures, don't take anything serious because they had nothing to lose and nothing to look up to. But having gone to school for 18 to 20 years, you should have crafted a more compelling future than somebody that has not gone to school. So every graduate should have known their compelling future and should have a burning desire towards achieving that future. And what is future? Most people think is what will happen tomorrow. No, failure can happen tomorrow. Rubbish can happen tomorrow. Defeat can happen tomorrow. A future is something to look up to that excites you. So I have a quote that says, if you don't see a future that excites you, you don't have one. So graduates should have a more exciting future. And the bigger the size of your dream, the bigger the test of the challenges that will come to you. So if your dreams are bigger than the challenges, you will not quit no matter the size of the challenges. So graduates with bigger dreams should be able to do more menial jobs just to get out of the rut called idleness. Because the bigger your dream, the less the idleness you can tolerate and the more the menial things you can do and overcome just to get to that dream. The second why graduates should do more menial jobs than illiterates is more financial drives. The size of what drives a man matters more than the size of what a man drives. While illiterates might be obsessed about driving big cars and building big houses, graduates, because they have gotten the epiphany of the leverage of other people's lives and dreams and aspirations and stories and anecdotes and a lot of things, they should have a bigger dream and a bigger financial drive. For instance, an illiterate might just be thinking of going to the local pub to celebrate with his wife, but a graduate is already thinking of going to Paris for a romantic honeymoon experience. That drive requires more finances than an illiterate. An illiterate might think the whole world lies in Ijabode and wants to build his world around Ijabode. A graduate might know that there are 194 countries he wants to visit and he wants to see the world. So he should have a greater financial drive than a non-graduate, and that should make him do and tolerate more menial things than even illiterates cannot tolerate. And the third why, which is very powerful, is more financial education. Most of us go to school to do mathematics, but if your mathematics cannot relate to lifematics, your mathematics is useless. Because if your math knowledge cannot give you financial literacy, you have wasted maths. And not only maths, you've also wasted your school fees. As my mentor, David Ibiome, will say, success in life requires good understanding of lifematics more than mathematics. While the illiterate that is doing the menial job does not know how this menial job connects to the mega job and the next level. He's just doing it for survival and hoping something good will happen. A graduate should have been able to finish the journey of 1,000 miles on paper, knowing that this menial job will give me the money for this and this will give me the money for this. And that reminds me of my friend Anselm. That is a doctor, one of the best doctors I know in Nigeria, and wanted to relocate to Australia because he was provoked. Being a medical doctor practicing in Lagos, in Lasu, he had a love of his life that he wanted to marry, And because another illiterate came in from the diaspora and threw money at this lady, she fell for the illiterate, and Anselm got so angry and decided he was going to jackpot and go abroad and go work as a doctor and make more money than the illiterate. So his why was to show the love of his life, that he's worthy of our love more than the illiterate. And he sold everything he had to go to Australia. We even had to support him to get there. When he got there, he was hit with a block that he cannot practice as a doctor except he passes the Australia Medical Council exam. And he needed about $3,000 or something to do that, and he didn't have $3,000. What he did was to start working as a barman. He didn't accept to become a barman because he wants to be a barman. He accepted to be a barman because it would propel him to being a doctor in Australia. And after a couple of months, he saved the money for his Australia medical exam, and he became a doctor, and a very successful one in Australia today. If he was not willing to take the cut to become a barman, he probably wouldn't be a doctor today in Australia. If Anselm was not seeing the big medical doctor paycheck, he wouldn't be able to tolerate the menial job of a barman. So a graduate should be able to extrapolate that I'm going to wash these cars for only 3 months and get the money for the next step that will prepare me for the next step, for the next step. So he already knows that in 7 years, this is where I'm going to be. So, and that brings us to the next reason. Because people endure more things that are temporary than things that are permanent. So graduates know that their menial jobs are more temporary than those that are actually qualified for the menial job because they know not better. So the next reason and the next why is that menial jobs are more temporary, but glory and the promotion and what you're going to become is more permanent. And that's what Evil Kelville, a boxer, said, that bones heal, cheeks and dick scars heal. Pain is temporary, but glory is forever. And one of the most glorious boxers of history is Muhammad Ali. And he said, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life a champion. So as a graduate, you're going to hate the menial jobs. You're going to hate the humiliation of going below your level to propel yourself to go above even the level that others expect. And that hatred is going to turn to a positive fuel that will not only fuel you to be more excellent in that menial job to get the attention of the people at the top so that they can pull you to the top, but it will make you never want to drop down again when you eventually get the glory and become a champion. So failure is not something you resent. If you resent failure, you don't understand success. But it's not also something you settle in because it's temporary. If you settle in failure, then you don't deserve success. So graduates, because they know they are not settling for the menial level and they are not also resenting it, they gladly do it because they are leaving it very soon and they will not settle for it. The fifth reason, or the fifth why graduates should do more menial job is the more sense of urgency. A graduate already know how long it takes, know how short life is, and how little time he has. Has no time to waste the average 3 to 10 years it takes an average graduate to get a meaningful employment in Nigeria. So instead of waiting for 3 to 10 years, graduate knows that there's no time, because in 10 years he would have become a world-class businessman or whatever he wants to do in any other area. So they know the urgencies because they know two things: the seasons of life and the gestation of life. The seasons of life, the graduates know that life is made up of 4 seasons, just like the 4 seasons of the calendar year. The season of spring of growth, where most of us grow and learn between the age of 0 and 20. That's when you're meant to be a student and you're learning and growing. And between the ages of 20 to 40 is the summer of value, where you have finished learning. You're supposed to have found your skills, found your passion, found your area of calling, and started developing it and adding value. The next is the autumn and fall of dominion. Whatever skill you've mastered between 20 and 40, from 40 to 60, you've mastered the skill and you're scaling the skill to take dominion and rule your industry. And then after 60 is the winter and legacy of death. You've already conquered, and then you're giving back to the society and building your legacy. So these 4 seasons is so important that the graduate understand that none of the seasons can be wasted, because sometimes when you fail to sow in this summer, you beg in the winter. So most graduates understand this and wouldn't want to waste any of the seasons. And they also understand the gestation, that it doesn't take a year or 2 years to become world class in anything. They know that it takes a decade, and you need to be dedicated in that decade. And when you add dedication and decade, you have a decade. And they understand that it takes 10,000 hours of practice, which is the Malcolm Gladwell principle of world class. For you to be world class in anything, they also know the power of focus, which means follow one course until successful. So even in the decade, they know to focus on value creation per season of life. So because of that, they don't have any time, any day, any hour to waste. The 6th reason is that as a graduate, you must show proof of education. This is so important to me. That's one of my driving factors. But before we get to my story, let's hear what Henry Ford has to say about intelligence. He said, intelligence is the productive deployment of thoughts into a productive outcome. If you have a refined and more civilized and more knowledgeable thinking, and you cannot deploy it into a more refined and more valuable product, then your education is a waste. And that's what happened to me as the mayor of housing. I had just graduated and started working and failing in business, from one business to the other, failed in oil business. And I had just started real estate when I lost my mom, that was a standard 6 primary school dropout that couldn't proceed to secondary school. But she was a trader that started from grass, and she was able to build and leave behind 44 flats. So when I inherited 10 flats and I got the first rent from those flats, a light bulb lit up in my head. And I said, if a standard 6 woman can leave 44 flats without attending the secondary school or university, how much more me that claims to be the best graduating of my set and attended university and a medical lab scientist? It would be an anathema if I don't leave behind 440 flats, which is times 10 of what she left behind. So to prove that the school fees she paid for me and that my years of education is not a waste, I resigned and went into real estate to learn real estate. And today, the rest, they say, is history, because that's what gave birth to the mayor of housing. And that's what gives me this infallible drive to prove my education, because wherever my mom is in heaven, she'll be expecting me to come to heaven having done 10 times better than her, because I'm 10 times more educated than her. But education is not just formal education. Remember, education more is self-education, because I've been able to go to school to learn how to read and write, to educate myself. Like Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And I dare say, the graduates that only depend on formal education are broke, unemployed, and waiting for a job. The graduates that have experienced self-education go start menial jobs and prepare themselves better than those that even get or are waiting for a formal job. And I have a quote that says, productivity is the only proof of education. If you are not productive, you are not educated. This should be a mantra for especially African educated youth, that going to school is not an opportunity for you to get a certificate, come home, lay back, and wait for unemployment. Going to school is an opportunity for you to prove to those that have not gone to school that you're more productive than them. The last and the 7th why is a more compelling legacy. I told people when I started off and resigned from medical practice to start from the scratch. And everything I have told you here, I have done every one of them. I graduated in 2003. So one of the best graduating students of the Department of Medical Lab Science, University of Nigeria. I rushed into my medical internship program in the teaching hospital of Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, River State. I was working in Meridian Hospital, working in Brereton Hospital, working in teaching hospital, thinking that combining jobs and doing a lot of jobs would get me a lot of money. But all that got me was the stress of ulcer. And while I was working, I was trying by all means to borrow money from my friends to raise the capital to start oil business. I did raise the capital and start, and I lost all the money and I was in debt. By 2007, I resigned from medical practice and went down to that oil business that humiliated me to start from the scratch. What was the scratch? I started supplying black market diesel to fast food and companies in jerry cans. And a time will be coming when I'll do the documentary, because if you know Port Harcourt, I had my dump in GRA, the Abacha Road, where I keep this diesel in drums and I carry it in jerry can with my V-boot and my lab coat hanging. I humiliated myself by going to the ground level to start this so I could learn it. I learned it so much that between 2007 and 2010, I'd paid for a filling station in Imo State. Between 2010 and 2013, I was the second largest distributor of diesel in Imo State. But because I was still naive and had not paid and learned my lessons, I lost 50 million naira in oil business and I was owing 80 million. And the one person I was owing 1.8 million arrested me. I refused to take bail out of anger that I lost 50 million and someone is embarrassing and harassing me for 1.8. I spent 2 months in Owerri State CID and 8 months in Owerri prison, the most congested prison. And in that 8 months, 11 people died before my eyes out of malnutrition and congestion. One of them died beside me and I knew him even before we got to the prison. It was in the prison that the epiphany of real estate hit me and the epiphany of starting from the scratch more securely. And when I came out of prison in 2015, the epiphany of learning is earning hit me and I started reading like a madman. I read so much that in 2017 I was so broke that my full-time job was reading. I read 8 hours every day. I'm preparing for my sales and marketing skills. By 2018, when I met a real estate company that was called to come and MC their unveiling, I was so ready because they say success is when preparation meets opportunity. That after MCing the event, I went to the CEO and said, I can sell your properties better than you. And I started with that company. I refused to take salary because the comfort of salary was gonna block my thinking, because I knew that comfort zone is where all my dreams would die. I told them I will not take salary, pay me on commissions. If I don't sell, I die. If I sell, I prosper. So I started learning how to sell real estate. Between 2018 and 2020, I had mastered it so much and helped that company go from less than 5 million naira in capitalization to over 20 billion naira 3 years later that I started my own company. And I started this company from almost minus 700 million naira. And today we have assets worth billions of naira after 4 years. And all this happened because I was humble enough to fall down to something as menial as selling diesel in jerry cans. And because that was not my level, I was so propelled to build a legacy, because my legacy is to make 1 million millionaires. I wasn't going through all this so that I'll make a million. I was going through all this so I could teach you to make a million and teach you to get off your comfort zone as a graduate and look for something to start doing. That all that experience built me so well that no matter what you do today, take away all my properties and lands and take away everything and own, the skills and the personal resourcefulness capacity I have built from all this experience, I'll still be a billionaire in any country you put me today. So the more compelling legacy for me is why I've been working this hard, because left to me a nice car, a nice house, and a nice passive income that can cater for my family, and I'm done. But because I want to build a legacy to build 1 million millionaires, That's why I'm going. You are my legacy because people are your greatest asset. Getting along with people are your greatest profit, and impacting people is your greatest legacy. It is the impact I want to make on you that has been helping me to grow. And the greatest measure of legacy and wealth is what you leave behind after you die. So the truest measure of wealth is what you leave behind after death. Poor people die and leave behind liabilities. Rich people die and leave behind money. Wealthy people die and leave behind assets. But legends like yours sincerely die and leave legacy. It is what you leave in people that matters more than what you leave for people. You can leave the money and the assets for people, but the story of grit and glory and what your story does in people when they hear it, and like this YouTube channel that will be teaching people long after I die, is the most important thing. And what you are building today is what you leave behind. So what are you building today? Some of you are surprised how much attention finance is an asset I give to YouTube. I'm not doing that because of today. I'm doing that because that is my legacy. There are a lot of people that shocked me in this. L. Nightingale, I never met him. Napoleon Hill, I never lived at the same time he lived. El Shuff, I never knew him. Jim Rohn, I was not alive. I was alive when he died, but I never knew him. All these people were legends that I met through their materials, because long after they died, their legacies are still speaking today. But the greatest legacy is the reason why graduates should do the most menial job. And what's the greatest legacy? The greatest legacy is that the less you start with, the more you have to go through, and the more you end up with, the more your legacy. And that's why I'm so passionate about Dr. Cosmos Maduka. He's Dr. Cosmos Maduka, but he's not formally schooled. In formal education, he's an elementary 3 dropout. And he started his business with $200 in the late 70s and early 80s. 200 naira then was about $300. But he built it into over 3 billion naira now in assets, and the first Nigerian company to buy a company in Japan, and one of the top auto companies in Africa. And he did all this because he started with only 200 and had to go through thick and thin. At the point, he was so broke, even as a married man, after losing his business, that he had to go to the market, ring bell, and allow people to stand on scales and pay him peanuts for him to survive with his wife. And he did that and still overcame that and built back his company into billions. So if anybody starts with billions and builds billions, that's not a legacy, and that's not inspiring. The inspiration of legacy is the story of grass to grace. If a graduate comes out with first class today, and he's employed today in the best company in the world, and he's paid top dollars, that's no inspiration. But you come out with first class and you start picking blocks and carrying blocks, and from there you build the biggest company in the world. That's inspiration. The same Cosmos Maduka had a story of their present accountant that didn't start as an accountant. He's an accountant graduate, but he came to the company, there was no opening for accountant, and he started as a security man. In the course of working diligently and joyfully as a security man, a problem came and he solved it. And they said, how could you solve this problem? He said, I'm a graduate of accountant. And immediately, the company moved him from gate man to an accountant. And today, he's one of the head of their finance. If he was at home waiting for Coscharis to come and give him an accounting job, he'll probably still be jobless today. He went into the mix of doing menial jobs, and from there he got promoted. There's a quote that says, if you spend enough time in the barber shop, you will get a haircut. So as graduates, if you spend enough time in the productivity arena, producing every day, no matter how menial, you meet somebody that will take you to the next level. Just like when I was carrying diesel in jerry cans, I met somebody that said, you are too educated for this. Come and leave this jerry can and let's go do this in trucks. That was how I got my break. Jerry cans of oil to trucks of oil. So legacy is very important because, as Miles Monroe says, leaders don't invest in buildings. Jesus never built a building. They invest in people. Why? Because success without a successor is failure. So your legacy should not be in buildings, programs, or projects. Your legacy must be in people. And the greatest thing you leave in people is stories of inspiration. How you could surmount the greatest difficulties. Nelson Mandela, without the 27 years in prison, will not be the inspiration he is today. Hey, sorry to just interrupt that wonderful teaching I was giving, but we're building the most educative and most generous YouTube channel in Africa to put a gold mine in your mind and to put a dime in your pocket, because we believe that without the mind, money is not sustainable, and with all the mind and no money, you won't be able to multiply what you know. So please, if you've got value from this business so far, it will help this channel a lot if you can hit the subscribe button so that YouTube can recommend this to more people. And if you found value so far in this video, please hit the like button. And if the value is enough for you to make money, that's if the value is something monetizable, then share the video with all your friends so that we can share the money together. And I have a 90-day promise that says, if in 90 days of consuming my content, your life has not changed enough for you to make up to $10,000 with the knowledge you've gained from here, you can unsubscribe by then. But for now, subscribe so that more people can get this opportunity. Have you subscribed? In the whole world. And legacy is more powerful than any success reason. And that's why a fighter called Khabib Nurmagomedov, a Russian, he said, I don't fight for the money, I fight for my legacy, I fight for history, I fight for my people. Legacy is so powerful that illiterates don't know what it means. But every graduate should not only know what it means, but have a strong one that is strong enough for him to die for. Remember what Martin Luther King said, if you've not found something to die for, you've not found something to live for. So if you've not found a legacy to die for, you've not found a legacy to live for. You must find that legacy that will make you want to take the worst menial job just to propel you to that legacy. When your why is strong enough, you become unstoppable. Let me give you a conclusion of the scenario of this. If I tell you to go and sweep the whole streets of Lagos and I'll pay you 5,000 naira, you might not sweep it. But if I tell you sweep the whole streets of Lagos and I'll pay you $5 billion, you will not only sweep it, you'll gladly sweep it. And you'll not only gladly sweep it, you fight anybody that wants to prevent you from sweeping the street of Lagos. And you'll be so proud of sweeping it that you tell people, I'm the #1 street sweeper in Lagos, because you know the value of where you are going. So I have a list of some legends that I want to know if you've been listening to me or just watching my mouth move. The first legend is King David, that started as a shepherd boy but ended up as a king without knowing any politics or any warfare, and was able to defeat a giant champion soldier with just a stone and a sling. And he did so well that he never lost a battle or his lifetime. Or Jesus Christ, that was the first legend that started with 12 illiterate men that ended up shaking the world, and he's the first legend that has been said to beat death because he resurrected from the dead. Or Abraham Lincoln, as one of the best and the most respected president in the history of America, that failed each election he went to, from the basic counselor, and kept on failing higher and going higher until he won the president of United States, and still holds the legacy of one of the most humane and the best diplomatic president. Or Winston Churchill, that during the Second World War was the hero of the English heroics in war and seemed to have galvanized the whole nation and probably the whole continent of Europe with his war antics and his courage and heroics. Or Nelson Mandela, who was a black man in the disadvantaged black appetite of South Africa and fought for the freedom of his people and willingly went to prison for 27 years for what he believed, and not only came out of prison victorious, but came out and became the first black president of South Africa. Or Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, that galvanized his people so much that he is the birth of Burkina Faso and the birth of the fight of liberation from white supremacy and neo-colonialism, that even Ibrahim Traore's heroics of today are akin to the renaissance of the spirit of Thomas Sankara. The seventh person on this list is you will complete it. So write that name down. Have you written it down? The name you wrote as a seventh hero or legend of this list is not you. Then I've wasted my time talking to you all these minutes. Seventh hero is my Ace China. And it is that legacy to put my Ace China on that list that I took you through this journey. And as a graduate, I've learned this, and I've known where academic intelligence plays its role and where street intelligence and grit plays its role. And graduates should not only start from the most menial positions, but they should start now and be here anyhow, because their why should be the strongest and the biggest that can allow them show how much they can endure to get to that height that will leave them as a legend. If you are the seventh on that list, then you don't need to watch this video anymore. Go prove your education now by starting the next menial job and having a roadmap that will take you out of that job as soon as possible, and not only get you to the top, but the top of the top. I'll see you at the top. Thank you. In conclusion, many people misunderstand life because they try to complicate life. And Confucius said life is really simple, but we insist on complicating it. The highest level of sophistication, according to Frank Sinatra, is simplification. If you simplify, you amplify. And for you to simplify, you must be educated enough to simplify. And simply, the simplicity of life is one thing and one thing alone: productivity. If there's one index to measure wisdom, it's productivity. And without productivity, intelligence can never be wisdom, because intelligence knows the way, but wisdom goes the way. And it is only those that go the way that get the reward on the way. With all our education, with all our schooling, one thing we all look for is how to be more productive and profitable. So if all your years of schooling, you cannot see the things you can turn to productivity, the things around you that are menial, useless, and base, that you can turn to something meaningful, useful, and valuable, then you have wasted your years of education. All these years of education amount to one thing: how much can you produce and how much is your product worth? Whether your product is in services, whether your product is in thinking, whether your product is in ideas, whether your product is in formulas, whatever your product is, productivity is the only measure of wisdom. And we are entering a new age of wisdom, where wisdom will truly be the principal thing, because intelligence has been outsourced to machines called AI. We are in a new age where intelligence will no longer be important. So if you went to school only for you to get intelligence, and you don't know how to deploy that intelligence into wisdom to produce profitably, you are about to go redundant in this new age of wisdom. Wisdom is the productive deployment of intelligence. And before now, people needed their own wisdom to deploy into profitability. Now, new machines have been created that are called AI, that can deploy all the intelligence. All they need is a wise person that will control, instruct, and deploy them to make profit. So if you know how to just do one thing, you're already wiser than 99% of the educated people. And that one thing is curiosity, knowing how things work, wanting to know how things work. Because if you want to know anything, an AI machine will give you that thing. But even after they give you the knowledge, it is your discipline and your self-determination that will deploy that knowledge for you to get productivity. We all know that exercising is good, but it is wisdom and discipline that will make you exercise to reap the goodness of exercise. We know that there are a lot of raw materials. Have you noticed in Nigeria how much of those raw materials or waste materials we used to have are no longer there? Before now, you go to events and empty bottles are filled in the trash. Now we don't see empty bottles in the trash because some people know how to recycle them and pick them up. You call them scavengers. If they are educated, they call themselves first-line recycling collectors. And they collect that and make money. Chinese, Japanese, and other people are seeing so much value in this waste dump called Nigeria. But you are not seeing, because the only thing your education gave you is head knowledge. Your education did not give you eyesight or insight, because it's when you have the insight and the eyesight to see opportunities that you now deploy your resourcefulness to turn that opportunity into productivity, that you actually make the one meaning to life. Everybody wants to fulfill one thing in life, which is achievement. And the greatest achievement is that you have in your bank account enough for you to live the kind of life you want to live. If you are educated and your bank account says otherwise, you are not educated. My life changed the day I went to where they sell parts to buy a trafficator that was sold for 1,500 naira. Then I did not know. Somebody that does not have a shop, does not have a degree, does not have any work, standing on the road and shuttling between the real shop owner and our buyers, came to me and said, "What do you want?" I said, "Trafficator." I asked him how much. He said 5,000. I said, "Go and bring one." He rushed to another person's shop that sells it for 1,500, but collected it without money. Came, fixed in my car, gave him 5,000. He took 3,500, went back to the owner, gave him 1,500, and the owner probably gave him 10%, maybe 150 naira or 200 naira as his own profit commission. And I only found out when I went to my mechanic a few days later that that trafficator was sold for 1,500. And instead of getting angry, I got challenged. I said, if somebody that didn't go to school, did not pay rent for a shop, did not use capital to buy goods, can stand along the road to racketeer people like me that don't know prices and are impatient to enter the market, to sell with 3,500 profit. That year, my salary in teaching hospital, Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, was 70,000 in 2006. I calculated and saw that with his 3,500, if he gets people like me 2 every day, that's 7,000. In 30 days, he walks home with 200,000. Me, with all my education, my tie, my lab coat, and my V-boot as a medical lab scientist, I walk home with 70,000. I ask myself, if my education does not make me 10 times better than that guy, I've wasted my education. And the final epiphany that gave birth to this brand that you are seeing called the Mayor of Housing is that I have a mother that is a primary 6 or standard 6 dropout. She was able to trade mattresses and foam, and she was able to live 44 flats. She was building houses 1 block at a time. And I used to laugh at her growing up because I thought I was the graduate that had all the sense. But when she died in 2018 and in 2019, when I had just started my real estate journey, I was handed over 10 of the flats as an inheritance. The first day the rent came, I was marveled. I said, so real estate pays even when you are not alive. I have never molded a block. I'd never bought cement, and I was earning money. And I said to myself, if a standard 6 illiterate that didn't go to school, was not the best graduating in the secondary school, was not the best graduating in the Medical Lab Science University of Nigeria, was not the best house officer in Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital, was not the best anything, was able to leave behind 44 flats, I vowed that I would leave at least 440 flats, and that's what gave birth to the Mayor of Housing. So if all I have said today did not motivate you to start doing menial jobs, ask yourself, that trader in Nnewi that brings in 30 containers of parts and has billions of naira and has a big warehouse, and he only finished primary school, is it not an insult to your education and your parents' money that you finished university and you don't even know how to convert the next opportunity to money? If you cannot convert your intelligence to productivity, let the scramble for menial jobs for you to get to the top start right now. That's the more reason why every graduate should subscribe to this channel, because we have so much for your self-education on this channel that will make you a fortune if you dare hit the subscribe button and the like button if you found value. And if you know any other graduate that this can deliver value to and make them fly as high as you've decided to fly, then share this video with them. And there are other videos on this channel that will help you on your journey from those menial jobs and getting to the top of a captain of industry and a legend with so much legacies. Click on the link above and watch the next video for you to become a legend today, and I'll see you on the other side.
Hey, it is super duper amazing that you found my content valuable enough for you to watch till the end. Only 5% of exceptional people do that. You're exceptional, and I deeply love and appreciate you. Hey, don't just watch to learn, watch to take action. And the first action is subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our daily value action. Remember, only doers are winners.